pick on what you said, Mr. Gurumurthy. You are calling it, or at least suggesting that if the trend continues, it will be a threat to the idea of India. But before, you answer that or explain that in detail, let's talk about a popular perception or a narrative that is pushed by a certain ecosystem. We all know that Muslims are scared, that there is growing Islamophobia, whether it is Mr. Owaisi, Farooq Abdullah, all the others. We don't have to take all the names, but I'm sure you get the drift. What happens to that narrative? Does that stand exposed, demolished completely?
Sir, that Muslims are living in fear is the constant refrain before independence. It is not today. Why Jinnah wanted a separate land when Gandhi, a person like Gandhi, Patel, Nehru, there was no RSS leading. There was no Jansang, there was no BJP. These were all tall leaders who had no narrow approach at all. But Jinnah canvassed and convinced the Muslims that you are in danger. So it is a community which can be easily made to feel that feel insecure, and that insecurity is being fed, and it is being fed for votes, and it is being fed in a manner that it completely destroys the mutual trust between the Hindus and the Muslims.
Right.
And this has been happening in the name of very legitimate ideas, secularism, liberalism. I mean, it has nothing to do with these things. It is that, but for the fact, a very large number of Muslims are not like Muslims of the immigration type in Europe.
Right.
The country would have been on fire. It is because the Hindus and Muslims have lateral integration at various levels, through language, through customs, through even faith in astrology. And so politics has not been able to create a huge divide between the Hindus and Muslims even today. But for that social interlacing between the Hindus and Muslims, this country could have been on fire given the political distortions in the name of secularism, liberalism, minority right, promotion of Muslims, giving them the priority of national resources.
So you believe
where does all this come? If you are being discriminated, you can never grow. You are
this is a definitive sign of prosperity, you're saying.
You are growing in many areas, prosperous, better, more educated. And Sachar Committee report itself brings out that in terms of bank account operations, savings, in terms of even education, in many, many areas, Muslims are advanced. How do you match it with the political discourse, which is based on only one thing, that the Muslims are in danger?
Well, that remains a challenge, Mr. Gurumurthy. I want to draw your attention to the point that you made, and I said that we'll discuss this in detail. You said that if this trend continues, this could well be a threat to the idea of India. Now, you've spoken about the threat to idea of India, how there's a narrative or a group that is trying to undermine that. But I want you to break this down, because many people would believe that your reading of this report and you're linking this to, threat to idea of India is really an alarmist take on the situation. What would you tell them?
You see, if you look at you can never look at the history or culture or sociology or the philosophy of a country except through its historical happening. I am not going to the Mughal days. I am going only to the pre-independence days, where the Muslims demanded partition, saying that we can't live with you. And regardless of that, the pre-partition statistic shows that in 1941, almost 22% of Pakistan population consisted of Hindus. Today it is less than 2%. In 1941, when I am talking about when
I understand. We'll come
the
to that.
partition movement started, when the Lahore resolution was passed by Jinnah,
Right.
saying that we can't live with the Hindus and we are separate and our religion is separate, our way of life is separate, and we want a totally different land for ourselves to live the way we want to live. From that time, you see the Hindu population declining in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, which was about over 33% before partition, it is now less than 9%. It means what? That there is a sense of rejection of the Hindus in the political discourse.
Sense of rejection.
Which is centered on Islam, Islamic values, Islamic societies. But there is no such thing in the Hindu way of life. In fact, if you look at the Encyclopedia Britannica, which is a neutral literature, which has analyzed all the three religions, the only thing that Mahatma Gandhi objected, which is recorded in the Encyclopedia Britannica, we have nothing against any religion except conversion. You know, there is no such word coming from any other religion of matching standard.
Right.
Including other religions. All other religions are true. Only one religion says this. So theologically, the Hindus can never be exclusive. If you cannot be philosophically exclusive, you can never be a threat to anyone. It is theology that is the threat. It is not the numbers. If the
So you're
theology
linking this
says
to conversion.
that only my religion is true, the other religion is not true, then the followers of the theology will certainly be a threat to people, particularly the Hindus, who accept all religions. See, it's an open secret.
I understand, Seth.
I want to add one more point. The only study of religious fundamentalism, which included all the scholars of all religions, of all nations, of all pursuits, was the fundamentalism project of the American Institute of Sociology. If I remember right, it was printed by the Chicago University, in which the first volume at page 820, the authors, which included one Dr. Appleby, who was in India, and he was an evangelist for 15 years. The author said that the idea of fundamentalism is applicable only to the Abrahamic religions, which have textual inerrancy as the basis of the religion. It does not apply to Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Shintoism, and Taoism.
Or religions in Asia.
Asian religions.
Right, that's right.
Because they don't discriminate people on the basis of the textbook anybody follows. But these are all global studies. It's not study by RSS or BJP or the Economic Advisory Council of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
We ignore all this. Why? For votes, for power.
So you're